What if all of life came to you with ease and joy and glory? What if that which you've always imagined possible actually is? What if it was possible to create a life you're excited to get out of bed for? Welcome to Creating Beyond podcast. I'm Ashlee Rose, here to introduce you to the tools you can use to create the life you've always dreamed of. Is it time for you to step into everything you came here to be?
Welcome everybody to another episode of Creating Beyond podcast. It has been a while between my last few podcast episodes. I have been gallivanting around Europe, and I went to Paris and spent a lot of time in Italy and went to Austria for a few days with my beautiful friend that is with me now, Bianca, who is a fellow Access Consciousness certified facilitator. And I was like, I've got to get recording podcast episodes again. Would you like to come on? So welcome, beautiful. I'm so excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me, and so glad to have met you in all this European tour you just had. We met in Paris, but then we saw each other also in the next month, the following month, and we enjoyed Europe together. So I'm so grateful and happy to have met you there.
It was a beautiful experience. So I wanted to get Bianca on. She has been an Access Consciousness certified facilitator for a number of years now. And I wanted to talk today about the power of question, because this is such a dynamic tool. It's easier than we've ever imagined it could be, and it can transform like your entire reality. And so many people are not empowered to know how to ask a question, what a question is, when to use a question. So what is question?
Wow. To me, question is like the willingness to put magic in action, and being willing to allow the magic to show up in your life. Is like opening the doors, being willing to have more about what you're asking for. And it truly is the opening the doors, like, of a castle, like when you open the main door, it's like, oh, that's the question for me, is like open to receive. Asking a question is the very first way to start receiving. And I noticed that even before Access, the major changes in my life were like, prior to those, I have made a question. I have asked a question. And I was like, whoa, it's true. Nothing changes before a question is asked, whether to yourself, to the energy, to the universe, to people. Nothing can change without a question. And that totally shifted my way of like functioning in my life. And
totally.
And knowing,
yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing, like most people don't recognize, like anything other than a question is a conclusion. And when we speak about question, like a really good example and that I use quite often is with money, because I mean, so many people are constantly like desiring more money. How do I generate more money? How do I create more money? And this is the thing. First of all, it starts with question. But the thing is, like, you can ask, hey, universe, what would it take to have more money with ease? Or what would it take to create and generate more money with total ease? Now, the thing is, if you've kind of desire more money, but you've decided that it can only come from your job, or you've decided more money can only come if you get a second job, or you work longer hours, or you inherit money, or you win the lottery, they're all the conclusions that you use to stick you, to stop you from receiving the infinite magic that the universe desires to gift you.
Totally. It's like, what we're used to is like, as soon as we ask a question, we look after answers or solutions, which is like, if you have an answer to your question, it's not even a real question, because like, if you ask a question, it's because you don't know rationally the answer. Otherwise, what's the point of asking a question? And actually kids have this muscle of asking questions. They're curious, they are willing to discover the world and see the possibilities, and they just ask for it. And normally, as you can see, like children lives work way better than adults life, because they're like all everywhere, like, oh, let's do that, oh, what, I wonder what will be like, let's do it. So the power in the question is asking it without, and I know it's hard because I've been through it myself, like to not look after solutions or answers, but what if you could just ask a question for the fun of it, and with the total curiosity, and to discover, like, oh, I wonder where can money come from, like I wonder who wants to give me money, or where can money come from, and where can they show up from, like, and that willingness to look after, like to discover it, creates way more ease in receiving it.
And I just think about like children, like, and thank you for that example, because I've never really thought about that before, how easy children's lives are, like how joyful most of their lives are, like how much ease everything comes to them, how much they're open to receiving. They don't have a point of view about receiving 200 things during that day or having everything they desire. In fact, they're willing to get and have everything they desire through the constant use of actually willing to ask the question, even though most parents would probably call it nagging, and be the question of like, what else is actually possible. So with question like you were mentioning, it opens you up to receiving. And this is the thing, like ask and receive is one of the laws of the universe. Like it's the way things work around here. And I think so many people kind of miss the whole point about asking. Like it seems like this kind of idea or concept for a lot of people. And I often say to people, like, for example, take money, for example, if you've decided you've been asking for more money and it hasn't shown up, have you actually been asking? Because so often we assume that thinking about money a lot or thinking about how much better life would be if we had it is asking, but that's actually not asking. Thinking is not asking. Putting it out there is not also necessarily asking. Having it on a vision board is not necessarily asking. It's asking is the energy that you're willing to be that allows you to open to receive.
Yeah, totally. And it's such a new muscle to create or to develop. It's like going to the gym. If you had your life through conclusion for like so many years, who knows how many other lifetimes, in conclusion, like question can be hard at the beginning. I meet so many people that after bars, they just don't get the concept of asking questions. So they just avoid it. Like, oh, question, like, what do you mean about that? Like, ask questions, just ask. But I don't know how to ask questions. Just start asking, what question can I ask here? Just to implement that muscle and develop that muscle that actually comes pretty quick after, like even quicker than the thought itself after a while. And the thing about question is like really whatever you would like to change, wherever you don't have ease with something, being willing to ask a question actually allows it to change as quick as you ask for it. Like, oh, I don't have ease, or like even with money, like, oh, I don't have enough money to go through the month to get the end of the month. That is a conclusion, like totally conclusion. How do you notice? You notice it because not only it gets flat, but it makes you get heavier as well. Like when you get to a conclusion, it doesn't make you lighter. If you have noticed, like I know you Ashlee, but people maybe you can like notice that, like it doesn't make you lighter. It doesn't make you any happier. Like, what if you could ask the question, like, oh, I wonder, what else can I create this month to not only have enough, but also outcreate myself or have more than ever. And
I
like,
so love that. I
yeah.
mean, I've never thought about it that way before. Like when you actually like conclude, that's exactly what occurs. It's like your whole world contracts and you start oftentimes when you conclude, that's when you're already in your head, and it'll create way more thinking, way more figuring it out, way more force, way more effort, and your life definitely doesn't get any happier. You start going from this space of like magic to this space of like, now what else do I have to do? And so if you flip that, so examples of asking a question would be, what would it take to have more money show up with total ease? What would it take to generate more money than I ever imagined possible with total ease? And notice like that space of question where, if you guys notice, like your whole reality and world just start actually expanding and everything getting lighter. And this is what occurs with the willingness to ask a question. It's not to look for an answer. It's not to look for the solution. It's actually, you're basically asking the universe, hey, universe, show me. It's not ask. And I always say this, like, the secret to ask and receive is that there is nothing in between. So many people go to, I ask, and then I have to figure everything out and how to make all that money. And then I'll receive it. But guess what? Figuring out the how actually eliminates total receiving.
Totally. I always joke about that. It's like, don't steal the job of the universe. Don't figure out the how. It's like, it's the poor universe. You steal its job. Poor thing. Our only job is to ask, and really ask, like that energy of like asking, and be the space of the question, like be the question, like how do I be a question? Just ask a question and look what shows up. And it's total lightness.
And would you guys be willing to employ the universe? Would you guys be willing to have the universe as one of your greatest allies, as one of your greatest supporters, as one of your greatest friends? And there's so much to this conversation about asking, but really, like, I guess, like, number one, if you guys have desired your life to change and you've been thinking about money or desiring more money or desiring a better job or a greater relationship or whatever that is, more joy, it's like, ask, turn that into a question. Instead of thinking about it, okay, what would it take to have this, whatever it is, with total ease? And that's a question that you can play with and just insert anything you desire. And this is what gets you to start accessing the receiving energies that will open you up to the universe gifting you that which you've actually been asking for.
Whatever conclusion you have or whatever is difficult for you is like, oh, it's difficult for me to receive. I don't know how to receive. Ask a question like, I wonder, how can I receive more? What's required for me to receive more? And it totally shifts the energy. When you get to the conclusion you cannot receive or you don't know how to receive, that's what shows up. And also about employing the mind or using the thought to create, you actually don't create something different or you don't change, because whatever happens to be in your head is only whatever you have lived or experienced until now. The mind cannot compute something that is totally different or something greater that you previously had, because it's just a recording machine. And it just presents you or makes you avoid something new because it wants to preserve itself and to preserve you from danger, which actually can be totally game changer for you and actually create greater for your life. So the only way to create something different or totally different and greater is by asking questions. There is no other way around it, because you can create something greater just like, okay, maybe I haven't experienced until now, but I'm willing to know what else is possible, what else can show up. I wonder.
And notice, like, anytime, like if you guys are new to starting to ask questions, if you've been using these tools for a while and you don't really get question, then start by recognizing, one, anytime you think about something, quote unquote, and your entire universe contracts, you can ask, okay, am I in question here or am I in conclusion? Have I concluded all the ways this can show up, or am I willing to receive the infinite ways this can show up? And then be willing to notice, like, anytime, and this is so it's so common. Anytime you go, how do I do this? Or how do I do that? Or how can this show up? Or anytime you start noticing yourself go to that how, flip it and go, have I asked a question here? What if it's not my job to figure out the how? Remember, it's the universe's, okay, what question can I ask here? What would it take for this to change miraculously with ease? So start noticing, like, what if every area in your life that is a total contraction is really the willing, like the places where you're unwilling to actually ask a question and be the question. And if you start kind of going through, and I mean, if you want to, as an exercise, you guys could look at every area of your life, get a piece of paper, write down money, write down body, write down relationship, write down business, and go, okay, what parts of this area is working and what parts aren't? And if there's parts that aren't working, okay, what would it take for this to change with ease?
Yeah, and also those who what are the areas that are working, like, oh, I wonder what would it take for them to be even greater than that.
Yeah.
This is the basis of how I created my my relationships. Like, since I have these tools, the questions from Access Consciousness, and of course you're trained to develop your own as well, is like, okay, is great, my relationship is awesome, okay, what would it take for it to be even greater? What else is possible? How does it get even better than this? I don't ever stop from asking it, because nothing in nature is like firm, or nothing can be maintained in nature. Energy cannot be maintained. It can just change. It can either diminish itself or get even greater. So your willingness to ask a question and to ask for it to be even greater actually allows it to grow beyond your more savage imagination, wildest imagination. And so does with money and with body and everything.
Yeah. And so often, like, I get the question all the time. People ask me, like, how do I receive, or what does it take to receive more? And like, what is receiving? And really, like, again, if you guys are looking at, like, what would it take to receive more? I mean, that's a really great question to ask. Or like, how do I receive more? Start by asking so many more questions than you've ever been willing to ask for before, because this is one of the simplest ways to begin to start accessing greater receiving, is to ask more questions. Now, the thing is, when we ask a question, like Bianca was saying, like, literally it begins to expand your universe. And through that question, you begin to open up all these doorways that weren't actually open before. Now, you asking the question is just to allow you to receive the energies of more possibilities and more choice. And through the receiving of more possibilities and more choice, then you have all these different possibilities that you can choose from that you haven't had access to before. So people kind of get quite confused about, like, what receiving is. And a lot of people tie receiving to money, but receiving is got nothing to do with money. They're actually two completely different things. However, your willingness to receive other choices, other possibilities, allows you to invite more money into your life. So really, like, we're talking about, like, that space of conclusion is where you cannot see anything else that's actually a possibility. Through your willingness to ask a question, you begin to receive and open the doors to, oh, wow, my life just expanded. Everything just become lighter, and you start to perceive, like, the magic, the possibilities, the other choices, the other doorways that you had never considered before.
Totally. And it's pure magic. Like, you cannot see, or like, it's not even mental. Like, people, like, and it happened to me as well, like, okay, so after I ask a question, what do I have to do about it, like, to change? And it's like, it's not even mental. None of this pieces of this process are mental. It's just, you be it, you just ask, and energetically shifts and transforms, and it opens up. And you'll notice, whatever you ask, the energy of what shows up, or the people, or the information, you will recognize it's because of the question you've asked before. And you're like, oh, it's the question I've asked before. Like, oh, thank you, universe. I wonder how does it get any better than this? And so it's ongoing magic, and it's wonderful. Life becomes an exploration and an adventure.
Yeah.
And wow, like
It really is.
mentally I could not even imagine my life that I have now. And it was also because I allowed myself to always be in the question. And the more I go further, the more questions I ask. Like, oh, I wonder what question can I be today that will change this even greater.
Yeah, I love that. And definitely what you said, like, it's only through my willingness to be and ask the question that, you know, I have been able to quit my nursing job. I've been able to create a business. Like, I've been able to like begin to travel the world, introducing people to these tools and facilitating classes, which I never imagined was a possibility. I mean, even 6 months ago, I was like, will I get to Europe this year? Will it even happen? Is it even possible to facilitate classes overseas? Like, do people know me? And I had all these points of view and all these beliefs and all this stuff come up, which we all do. Like, and it was my willingness to ask the question and be like, well, I wonder truly what else is possible here. And what would it take for my life to truly be this adventure of living? And today I literally just booked another ticket to Europe, which is the third ticket I booked in the space of 4 months. So in the space of 6 months, in November, I would have visited Europe 3 times. And that was never a reality for me. And that is not a reality for most of us here, because we're taught that that's nonsensical. And why would you do that? And why would you choose that? And, you know, why would you even bother asking what else is possible beyond that?
Totally.
Yeah.
And yeah, like if it's awesome, like people like, why would you ask something greater than that? That's enough. Like, I mean, be content. It's like, yeah, I'm grateful, but what else is possible? How can I have more fun than this? And it's impressive how life actually becomes greater by your willingness to be always in the question. And it's not even like a correct answer, like question, or a right question to ask. This is where we kind of get trapped. Like, as soon as we get presented to questions like, oh, how do I ask the right question? It's not a right question. It's just maybe a question that creates greater than the other one, but it's not even that. It's just your willingness to be asking a question that changes stuff. So when people ask, like, what question can I ask here? Just ask yourself, what question can I ask here? And this muscle starts growing again, and wonders can show up.
And really, like, if you're listening to this and you've been using the tools, or you're new to the tools of access consciousness, and you're like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. My 2 favorite questions: what else is possible here I've never considered before? Or what else is possible? And how does it get any better than this? And just those, if you only use those questions for the rest of your life, man, will your life become this adventure of living. And just as Bianca said, you cannot get question right, because if you're trying to get question right, you're not in question. You're actually in conclusion, and you're searching for the answers. So through your willingness to even be the question, remember, the question just opens you up to more choices and more possibilities. You don't even have to ask a question to open yourself up to more choices and more possibilities. You can be that space of question, be that space of curiosity, be that space of, wow, like, what if every day my life could get greater, without you having to do question or ask question. And this is where, again, remember, asking is just to begin to receive those energies of infinite possibility and infinite choice, and everything that's actually available to you. So the more you're willing to ask a question, the more you will become the question that allows every day to be this miraculous adventure of living.
And I adore it because it's so practical. Like, it's so pragmatic. It's not, oh yeah, you just think positive and everything will show up awesome. It's like, you ask a question and everything shows up. And it's like, wow. It's very pragmatic, and it's very tangible, because you can see it very, very quick.
Yes.
And I so adore that. Totally.
And how much fun can you have with it? That's the thing. It's like, really, how much fun can you actually have with like asking like 200 questions during the day, and noticing like how quickly your life shifts and changes and expands around you? Because Again, the beginning of all creation, everything that you desire to create, everything you desire to have, everything you desire to bring into your life begins with question. Always. You'll never be able to get out of that. So if you're not asking questions, you're not actually kind of on that creative edge of truly accessing like everything you desire. What can you ask for you've never been willing to ask for before? What can you ask for that you've decided is beyond what you're allowed to receive? And what if you can literally have it all? And so this is where, like, today I was writing a post about me booking my ticket back to Europe, and I asked, like, what can you choose today, or what question can you ask today that would open you up to possibilities beyond what you've allowed yourself to have before and receive before and know before and perceive before?
Wow. Yes. Yes to that.
All of the above and more.
All of the above. Yes. This, and what else?
Yeah. And what if like gratitude is not contentment? And I love that's what you were saying. Like, so often, like, that's what sticks us from asking for more. It's like we don't actually recognize that we have these targets in place. Like, you might have this target of, like, you know, generating $1,000 a week, and you hit that and you become complacent without even recognizing, because you've actually reached this target that you set this lifetime, another lifetime, without even recognizing. So you guys can always play with as well, like, all the targets you've set, known or unknown, this lifetime or any other lifetime. Destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all names, shorts, boys, perverts, and beyonds. So
yes.
Yeah.
And there's also this piece of, like, oh, I will not ask for more because I will take it from someone else. No, it's very present, especially when we have this of, like, caring for others. What if you can care more for people, but by willing to receive more? What I noticed for myself is I'm a constant inspiration for my family to ask for more, to receive more, to have more money, to be happier in their lives. Whereas if I was just content and just in my little yard, I would be like, even my family would have settled up for less. Like, oh, it's okay to be like that. I don't ask for more. What if by you asking for more and being willing to receive more, we can be an inspiration for all the people you care about, and also even greater, even beyond that? What element of inspiration or catalyst for inspiration and change can you be for others to choose more and have a greater life and a happier life?
I love that. And what if the greatest kindness you can actually be is your willingness to constantly ask for more? And I know so often we can get to this place, which I definitely did when I kind of started using these tools and my life started growing and expanding, and, you know, other people's kind of stayed the same. Like, there were so many times I wanted to stop myself and go, oh my God, no, I've asked for too much, right? You know, I shouldn't become any greater than I am because I'm making all these people around me feel uncomfortable. And we tend to focus on those people and then forget about all the people that are watching us, that see us, that have never even spoken to us, that are so inspired by our willingness to continue to choose, for our willingness for our lives to be constantly and always greater. So what if truly, like I mentioned, the greatest kindness you can be is your willingness to constantly be the question that expands your world and your reality and your life beyond anything you actually ever imagined possible, and anything you've actually been willing to have before.
Wow. Totally. Wow.
And with that, I guess we will finish up. I was like, this is such a big conversation. I'm like, there is like 10 other doors that I'm like, we could have a whole different conversation about, like, the rejection of receiving, like the unwillingness to receive, the, you know, all of this stuff. And we will leave that for another episode, I would say, because
or for other 10 episodes.
Exactly. Otherwise, this episode will go for ages. But I do want to throw a question out there, actually, like, what if there was no such thing as a receiving problem?
Wow.
So often we can make it about our unwillingness to receive, and we've got a receiving problem and we're not good at receiving. And what if that wasn't true? As an infinite being, you function from infinite receiving. That is an element of you. So is it true you have a receiving problem?
Yeah. And everywhere you bought is as real and true for you, will you please destroy and uncreate it all?
Yeah.
Right or wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all night shorts, boys, ballads, and beyond.
We will do another episode about that, or a call, or a something. There is something brewing.
Looking forward.
Yeah.
Looking so
totally.
much forward. I adore you. I mean that.
I adore you too, darling. And for those of you that aren't aware, well, none of you are aware because we've never spoken about it. I am moving to Europe in 6 months' time. I'll be close to this lovely lady, maybe closer than I assume. And we're actually going to facilitate a foundation class, co-facilitate a foundation class in a beautiful villa in the hills of Italy somewhere in April or May next year. So I know
be prepared for an awesome experience.
I know that's very broad, but for any of you looking for a foundation class in North Italy, retreat style in April or May, just, you know, we will have dates soon. I would say a location, who knows, soon-ish. And you can contact either one of us if you're interested in that.
Yeah. If it gets you excited and light, that's the class for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll be
absolutely.
happy to receive you and to change our lives together.
Totally. Awesome, darling. So can you let everyone know where they can find you? I know you actually have a program coming up in October about asking.
Yes, and it's actually called Asking the Experience. It's a 20-day program. Every day we meet on Zoom and we train the muscle of asking questions, and we get out of our mind on calculating like, is it the right question? Is it not? It's just you're training the muscle of questions. You can also ask me questions about how to ask a question. I know it's the first days. It's very present, these type of questions. And actually in 20 days, you will be a walking, talking question, and things can all already show up in your life easier, more fun, and greater than you've ever expected. So it starts on the 17th and it will go on for 20 days. You are invited, and you'll have the link somewhere. Ashlee will put the link somewhere here. And you can find me on Instagram, lady_consciousness, so Lady Consciousness, or on Facebook with my name and surname, Bianca Luana Chirnoaga. But yeah, these are the main platforms I'm on, and looking forward to play together.
Awesome. And I'll pop all those links in the show notes below. And I love, you just said your name so fast. I literally had to go, did she just say her first, middle, and last name? Or did she just say her last name? Or I was like, wow. And I want to start to speak Italian. I was like, it may be a little while for me to maybe get that quick. And what else is possible? What would it take for me to be fluent in Italian in, a fortnight? Just because I can.
Oh, yes. It's easier than you could even expect by asking questions.
Exactly. I will keep being the question that will, expand that beyond what I ever imagined possible. So,
and you're more Italian than you can even acknowledge. You're more Italian because you are willing to receive. Italians are definitely very willing to receive. They don't acknowledge that, but yes. So you have this. So
amazing. And for those of you that don't know, just like side note, Bianca is actually not Italian, but she lives in Italy and she speaks Italian better than most Italians. So that's just like a little bit of like information about Bianca for you, for those of you that don't know.
And I adore Italy. I'm so grateful to be here. Well, I chose it even before knowing it. And my life is great here. And I enjoy also going all over the world. And what magic is available.
Awesome. Okay. Well, how does it truly get any better than this? I'm grateful for all of you listening, for being here, for being with us. And we'll see you guys soon for another episode.
Yes. Thank you, Ashlee, for having me here. Looking forward to see each other in Italy or wherever to create and to play. And thank you guys for listening.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen into this episode and my show. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if it has been a contribution to you, please leave a 5-star review, subscribe to my show, and share this episode with anyone you know that may be looking to create their life as something greater. You can find more about me at Ashlee, ashlee-rose.com, and you can find more information about the tools of Access Consciousness at accessconsciousness.com.